So welcome everyone. Today we're studying parashat Toldot, which is the sixth Torah portion in the opening book of the Torah, the book of Bereshit, Genesis. We studied in the opening parashat Bereshit about creation and about the challenging beginnings of humankind with Adam and Eve and Cain and Abel. Then we moved on to Noah and his corrupt generation in the flood. In the third Torah portion, Lech Lecha, Abram and Sarah emerge, and a new path is being carved to humanity, the path of monotheism and godliness and morality. And we see the development and growth of Abram's family. Also, with the birth of Yitzchak, we have the binding of Yitzchak. Last week we read about the passing of Sarah and about how Abraham sends his chief butler, if you like, Eliezer, to find a suitable wife for Yitzchak, which is Rebecca. Towards the end of the parasha, Rebecca comes to the Abram residence, if you like, and meets Yitzchak. And that's where we left off. This parashat, Toldot means chronologies. And let's see what happens here. Let's jump in. So the first verse, chapter 25, verse 19. Ve'ele Toldot Yitzchak. These are the chronologies. Here's the history of Yitzchak ben Avraham. What is the chronology of Yitzchak ben Avraham? Yitzchak was the son of Avraham. Avraham holidat Yitzchak. Abram gave birth to Yitzchak. Welcome. So what is strange?
Surprise.
Welcome. So what is going on here? Right? Something seems a little strange. Normally you would expect, he says, these are the Toldot, hi Judith, these are the Toldot, the chronologies of Yitzchak. You would expect him to say what Yitzchak did. You know, that's his story. But what does it say? It says he's the son of Abraham. Okay? And it was Abraham who gave birth to Yitzchak. One way to understand it is that Yitzchak was Yitzchak because he was the son of Abraham. It's like sometimes you meet a great scholar and you realize or you find out that their father or their mother was a great professor and author and scholar in their own right. Yeah. So you're asking, how come Joe Schmo is a great scholar? Because his parents or her parents were great scholars. It's kind of what's going on here. These are the chronologies, the story of Yitzchak. He was the son of Abram. Abram gave birth to him. Abram raised him with Sarah to walk the walk of monotheism. Rashi. So here we have Rashi's commentary. What does Rashi say? Ve'ele Toldot Yitzchak. These are the generations, the chronologies of Yitzchak. Yitzchak Yaakov ve'Esav v'Amorim. We're going to learn about Jacob and Esau, right? The twins. Yitzchak's sons. And then Rashi says, Avraham holidat Yitzchak. Why does the Torah tell us that it was Abraham who fathered Isaac? He goes on to say that there were the good souls around who said Sarah probably became pregnant because there was a time in which Abraham and Sarah passed through a place called Gerar, where she was summoned to the king's palace. Oh. So they said,
they want to make it clear.
Maybe it's Avimelech's son. So Yitzchak was a spitting image of Abraham. So nobody in his right mind could say, it's not really his kid. Right? It's not his kid, it's Jason Kidd, you know? Okay. It's a basketball player. All right.
I didn't know that one either. That one, okay. Right. You got to keep to baseball and tennis players.
He's been a coach for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a coach. Okay, yeah, you're going to keep him up then.
Now we have chronological marker, verse 20. Vayi Yitzchak ben 40 shana. Isaac was 40 when he took Rivka, the son of Betuel, the Aramite, from Padan Aram, the sister of Lavan, the Aramites, as a wife. So Yitzchak got married when he was 40, right? It's like Angelinos and New Yorkers. He married late. Yeah.
That's only 3 years after the binding, huh?
That's correct. Yeah. Now Rashi is going to tell us, he was 37 after the binding. Rashi is going to give us the chronology. Let's turn to the back of the same page, please. Verse 21. And Yitzchak beseeched Hashem because Rebekah was barren. And Hashem heeded his prayer, and Rebekah became pregnant. Got pregnant. So, notice it's the second matriarch who has issues, right?
Fertility issues.
Sarah.
And who was the third? We'll see. Rachel.
Yeah.
Rachel only had 2 sons, right? Joseph and Benjamin. Leah and the concubine wives had all the others. And Rachel also died at childbirth, giving birth to Binyamin. Okay, let's go to the next page. Verse 22. Vaitrotzetzu habanim bekirba. And the boys were running amok within her. I remember once a woman told me when she was pregnant, when I lived in New Jersey, what it was like. She had twin girls. It's like, it's crazy. It's like, one's kicking you here, one's kicking you here, like boop, boop, boop. So that's kind of what's going on here. So the boys, the kids, the children were running amok within her, and she said, "If so, why am I? Lama ze anochi vatelech lidrosh et Hashem." She went to inquire God. Something was going on here. She didn't understand what was going on.
I see.
She felt very unsettled, Rebecca, by this whole situation. Now Rashi brings on a midrash that says that when Rebecca would pass by a Torah study hall, Shem, one of Noach's children, and Ever, they had some sort of learning academies of monotheism. So
Noah's kids?
Yeah.
Wow.
Whenever she would pass by a place of Torah academy, Jacob would want to come out. And whenever she would go by an idolatrous place, Esau would want to come out.
Oh, wow.
Another thing,
here it says.
Another midrash says, they were quarreling about the inheritance of the 2 worlds. What are the 2 worlds?
Wow.
This world and the world to come, right? And Rashi says she went to inquire in the academy of Shem, according to the midrash. Verse 23. Vayomer Hashem la. Shnei goyim bevitnech. There are 2 nations in your innards. Ushnei lu'umim mime'aich. And 2 kingdoms, yiparedu, are going to separate. Ul'om mil'om ye'ematz. So one will be stronger, and one will have the upper hand, one will have the lower hand, so to speak.
But here in the translation it says the elder will serve the younger.
Right, that's the rest of it. Ve'rav ya'avod sa'ir. And the stronger one will be subservient to the younger one.
So it was destined to happen all along.
Right. So notice in our parasha, we already have 2 layers of reading the story. Actually, more than 2 layers. The first one.
Hi.
Welcome. That's great.
Hi.
The first layer, please. The first layer is sibling rivalry, right? That's a psychological layer. It's a universal thing in modern psychology. Yeah, we're on the second page. And the second layer is, Rashi says, that already the two of them represented 2 spiritual approaches. Whenever Rebecca carrying the twins would pass by a Torah academy, Jacob would want to spring out. Whenever they would pass by an idolatrous house of worship, Esau would want to work out. So first we have the psychological sibling rivalry, then we have the spiritual, now we have the political. What does Hashem tell her? Shnei goyim, right? 2 nations will come from your midst. Shnei leumim. So now it's political. Another angle to the Jacob and Esau story is political. In the rabbinic mind later on, Yaakov represents ancient Israel, and Esau represents ancient Rome, the pagan Roman Empire, which destroyed the Second Temple. So there are many layers to this, right? Okay. Now, we are at the back side. No, we are on the 3rd page, right? Hold on.
They're numbered, aren't they? Just go by that. Don't struggle.
I'm sorry, yeah. Okay. So it's the one where it says at the bottom at the left, 4 of 35 on the bottom left. It says 4:35. Look at Rashi, the 4th Rashi, right before verse 24, where it says in English, will become mightier than the other kingdom. Lo yishvu begdula. There's never going to be a time where Jacob and Israel are going to both be prosperous and strong and secure. Ksheze kam ze nofel. When one of them has the upper hand, the other one is having a tough time. Okay. Verse 24. Vaymalu yamei laledet. It's time for Rivka to give birth. Vehine tomim bevitna. And behold, she has twins. She had a late ultrasound, right? And they found out that she's carrying twins. Now, verse 25, Vayetze harishon admoni kulo. The first one comes out all red. He's a redhead. He has hot blood. Ke aderet se'ar, tons of hair, like a toddler. Vayikre'u shmo Esav. And they called him Esav. Why Esav? Comes from the word asui. Asui means ready-made. You know, he was born already looking like, not like an infant, you know, like with more hair than an infant. What does Rashi say? Admoni, ruddy. Siman hu sheyeh shofech damim. It's an omen or a sign or a symbol that he's going to be a blood-shedding person. So we have symbolisms here at work that we're going to see that Esav represents the passions, what Freud called in his psychological work the id. What is the id? It's the instinctual self, the physiological impulses and desires of the self.
It sounds like a negative thing.
In a way, what in Kabbalah and Hasidism is later on called the nefesh habehemit, the animal soul. Okay? And we all have one, right? It's part of the human condition. Verse 26, the next page. Va'acharei chen yatsa achiv. And then came out Yaakov. Then came his brother. Ve'yado ochezet be'akev Esav. And his hand, Jacob's hand, is holding the heel of Esav. He's grasping him by the heel. Vayikra shmo Yaakov. And he was called Yaakov. Why was he called Yaakov? From the word akev. Akev means heel. So he healed his brother, so to speak. He was
Not heal the foot, but heal like feel better?
No, double E.
Oh, okay.
He healed, so he grasped Esav's foot, the heel rather. And
So what's the root of the word again? I'm sorry.
Yaakov is from the word, the root is Ayin Kuf Bet, Akav, which means to heal, to follow. And Yitzchak was 60 years old when they were born. Okay? So
60. So he was married for 20 years before he had kids?
yeah.
Okay.
Just like his father, his parents didn't have kids for many years, right? So...
But these are not true, like true years.
Like modern time years, yeah, we don't know.
I mean,
Well, here it may well be. This is hardly exceptional. Have you heard of Sol Bellow, the Jewish American writer? He had his daughter when he was 84. You know that?
and the wife, how old was she?
I don't know. But
12.
But Rebecca was much younger than
Yeah.
Yitzhak.
Rebecca was 40, it says, right?
No, he was
No,
40.
He was 40 when they got married.
He was 40 when he got
She was
married.
much younger.
She was
much
16.
younger. Well, she was much younger. Now, so let's look at all the layers of this story. We have sibling rivalry. Then we have two spiritual approaches to life. Yaakov wants to enter the Torah Academy. Esav wants to do idolatry. And then we had the political angle. Yaakov is going to represent ancient Israel, and Esav represents ancient Rome. Now, notice with their birth, the symbolism starts of how Esav represents the animal soul, the instinctual self, the impulses, and Yaakov is going to represent the refined self, the what they call in Hasidism the godly soul, the nefesh elokit. So what is the symbolism? So Esav is all red, and Rashi says the symbolism of red is blood, passion, right? Desire, lust, anger, violence, right? So what is the symbolism of Yaakov holding the heel of Esav? What is Esav here?
He's a strong one.
He's the id.
He's the id, right? Mm-hmm. So say it in your own words. He is the
Ego.
The animal.
The id.
The animal soul.
Right, the instinctual self, right? Mm-hmm. The instinctual self wants to be all over the place. So Yaakov grabbing the Esav in us by the soul, by the heel. What does that convey to us? But what do we need to do?
Our conscious that is supposed to control all that.
The godly soul should rein in and temper and moderate and steer the steering wheel of the animal soul. Right? As Jews, it's not that we don't procreate. It's not that we don't enjoy good meals. It's part of us. But the Yaakov in us has to know how to rein in and control the Esav. So here we understand that Yaakov and Esav represents two human dispositions within us. And the struggle between Yaakov and Esav is in many ways the struggle of our life, the life struggle that we have. And notice, Rivka represents the neshama, the Jewish soul of each and every one of us. We feel we're pulled in these two different directions. And you ask, Lama ze anochi? Why am I? Is this a life? It's, you have to deal with these. We all have to deal with opposing forces and inclinations within us. Right? But telech lidrosh es Hashem. She sought out God to get clarity, to understand what was going on. Starting to make sense, right?
Yes.
Let's go to the back of the page where it says at the bottom left, 6 of 35. Vayigdelu hane'arim. And
This is like such a theme, because last week we talked about the Jewish condition being an insider and outsider, with Abraham being a foreigner and a resident among you, this struggle of inside outside. Now we have this between these two brothers, with being the life struggle that we have of the godly soul reigning in the animal instinct. There's always
beautiful
this back and forth and struggle in our
right.
people.
It's true. You know, it's yay, Rosie.
Hi there.
Welcome.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Sorry I'm late.
No, please.
Okay.
Okay. So page 6 of 35 at the bottom left, it'll say, verse 27, Vayigdelu hane'arim. They became boys, adolescents, started taking soccer lessons, and played in the Beverly Hills Baseball League. Vayehi Esav ish yodei tzayid. And Esav became a hunter. He was a jock. He was an athlete. He was an outdoors kind of guy, a man of the field, ish sadeh. He's the man of action. Ve'Yaakov ish tam yoshev ohalim. And Yaakov is an ish tam, not Tom Cruise. Tam means either innocent, naive, pure, or striving for perfection, for personal growth. It means both. Tam. Yoshev ohalim. He's a tent dweller. He sits all day in the library and reads books. Rashi. Vayigdelu hane'arim ve'yi Esav. I'll give you my translation of the Rashi from English. As long as they were little kids, you couldn't really see their character. But once they turned 13, Jacob started becoming very bookish, and Esav started being more of both a physical and into idolatry. A hunter. Rashi says Esav wasn't only a physical hunter that would go and, catch cats and kill them and all kinds of terrible things like that. He also knew how to hunt and deceive his father with his mouth. He was a cunning guy. He wanted to pretend. He's like the kid who comes to school who didn't do any homework and then reads one Rashi and says, I have a question about this Rashi. I couldn't understand it at home. What would Esav do? Rashi says that he would ask his father, Yitzchak, how do you tithe salt?
Tithe?
And you don't tithe salt. And things of that nature. And he made kasavur aviv shu medagdek b'mitzvot. His father thought that he has a very studious, serious son who's learning.
Instead, he was toying with him.
Yeah, he was pretending. Ish sadeh, a man of the field, an idle person who hunts with his bow beasts and birds. And Yaakov was Tam. What is Tam?
Well, in the Haggadah, Tom is simple.
Yeah, but simple in a good sense here, in a sense of, in a sense of he's the worst manipulator in the world. Somebody who can't lie, who can't, That's what Rashi says. An innocent man. Okay. We can read it in English. He was no expert in all these matters. Like his heart, so was his mouth. Person of integrity. A person who is not astute at deceiving is called Tam, innocent. Verse 28. Vayehav Yitzchak et Esav. Yitzchak loved Esav, ki tzayid befiv, because he was a hunter, or maybe because he managed to deceive him with his mouth that he's actually learning. Ve'rivka ohevet et Yaakov.
Oh, and it says here in the English, because Isaac loved Esau because his game was in his mouth. That's an interesting way of translating.
Yeah. And here comes, of course, the famous story, and we're going to appreciate it on a very deep level now. Vayezed Yaakov Nazid. Yaakov was making a pottage, a stew. According to some Midrashic works, this was when Abram passed away. You're not going to find it in the text. It's according to some Midrashic rabbinic interpretations. We read at the end of last week's portion that Abram passed away. He was 175. And Yitzchak and Ishmael buried him. So it was, and this is the first aliyah of the new parsha. So according to some, this was the Shiva of Abraham, their grandfather.
Oh.
According to some Midrashic work. You won't find it here in the text.
Okay.
Vayezed Yaakov Nazid. So Yaakov was making lentils. Why lentils?
Because they're yummy.
Yeah, and it's the kind of food you serve in a mourner's home.
It is?
Yeah,
No,
because
I didn't
it's
know that.
because it's circular, like eggs,
Oh, like the egg?
bagels.
Like the huevo?
Yeah. Rashi is going to talk about the huevo, and I'm completely serious. You're going to see here
I'm
the
completely-
origins of why we eat eggs in Shiva. You're going to see in the Rashi very soon. So Yaakov made this dish, Veyavo esav min hasadeh v'oyef, and he came back from hunting in the field, and he was tired. Next page. Verse 30. And Esav said to Yaakov, Hal iteni, stuff me. Hal iteni na min ha'adom hazeh. Stuff me with this red stuff. Again, do you see the symbolism here? Give me the good, give me the sensuous stuff. Give me the physical stuff. You know? Ki ayef anochi. I'm tired. You know? I just want to watch Netflix and eat the lentils. Al ken kara shmo Edom. Therefore, he named him Edom. Min ha'adom, from this red stuff.
What does he mean by red stuff?
The lentils were red, but it also comes to symbolize that he's all about the physical. Right? Now, the Rashi of some of this red pottage, mina adom, adashim adomot, red lentils. And here comes Rashi, that's where I got the idea. V'oto hayom met Avram, that day Abram died. Shelo yireh et Esav ben bno yotzel tarbuta, so that he will not see Esav, his grandchild, becoming a mess. Ve'en zo seva tova shiftochtu. And God promised him 180, and Yitzchak lived to be 180, but Abram lived to 175, actually, so that he won't have to see what became of his oldest grandson. Uvishel Yaakov adashim lavrot et ha'evel. So Jacob was making lentils for the morning. Now check this out. Velama adashim shedomot lagalgal. Here, look at it in English, so you can enjoy it because it's very interesting in our Sephardic, in the context of our Sephardic customs. 7 out of 35, verse 30, the second Rashi, where it said some of this red pottage, go to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lines from the beginning of this Rashi, where it says in the middle, but why lentils? Do you see that?
Yes.
This is Rashi. But why lentils? Because the lentils are round as a wheel. For mourning is like a wheel revolving in the world.
Wow.
That's why we eat eggs.
Wow.
That's why we eat bagels too.
I didn't know about the bagels.
See?
That's not Sephardic. We don't have bagels.
I know, but that's why. Well, we eat them for breakfast when we study Torah. No, but
Right.
but some people serve bagels. It's all the same theme of the cycle of life,
Wow.
right? And I believe that this Rashi, to my limited knowledge, is the first Jewish source that we eat round things at a shiva, like an egg and things like that. It's interesting, right? Stay with me. Also, just as lentils have no mouth, no crack, as other beans have, so does the mourner have no mouth, for he is prohibited from speaking. There's some halachas that the mourner at the beginning of the Shiva shouldn't really engage in conversation. It is therefore the custom to feed the mourners eggs.
Oh my God.
Is that cool or what?
Very cool.
Right? At the beginning of his meal, since they are round and have no mouth.
Wow.
So too does a mourner have no mouth, as discussed in Moed Katan. That's in the Talmud. Okay? So now you see
For the first 3 days it says here.
Yeah. So there are different
that wouldn't
halachot.
work nowadays.
Yeah. Well, nowadays certainly the halacha is that
Wow.
if you go to a shiva, then if you go to a traditional shiva, the opportune thing to do would be, to sit, and if the mourner wants to speak with you, you let him or her start talking.
Oh, so they're not responding?
The idea is that I shouldn't come to a shiva, sit next to the guy who's in shiva, and say,
Did you hear the stuff?
I shouldn't start a conversation.
Yeah.
Shouldn't strike. It's very deep understanding of human psychology and the intricacies of the soul. The mourner should not be made to feel that he's imposed upon, that now he needs to host.
Oh, yeah.
And entertain, so to speak. Okay. Verse 31. Vayomer Yaakov, Michrach hayom et bchoratcha li. Sell for me today your birthright. Verse 32. Vayomer Esav, and Esav responded, Hine anochi olech lamot. I'm dying here. Velama ze li bchora. Who needs the spiritual primacy? Judaism, Shmuzaism. I want food. I want fun. I want action. Esav is the personification of what we call today instant gratification, immediate satisfaction. So, really what we have here is a clash between two life philosophies. Esav represents the life philosophy that the prophet Isaiah talks about when he says, Achol v'shato ki machar namut. Eat and drink, because tomorrow we're going to die. The French took it. Manger, boire, car demain on mort.
They took it from the Torah, huh?
Yeah, and I never knew it until I read it in Isaiah, that's where they got it. And of course, Yaakov represents a different context, a different approach. That She'akol bara lichvodo, everything was created by God to emanate God's majesty, and everything is up for grabs in Judaism, right? We enjoy alcohol, we enjoy good food, procreation is a mitzvah. One of the mitzvahs in the ketubah is that the husband also takes upon himself to take care of all his wife's needs and enjoyment. It's not that we turn our back on life's physical pleasures, God forbid. It's that we always celebrate them in a spiritual context. And Esav doesn't care about a spiritual context. All I want is that, because tomorrow I'm going to die and everything is meaningless. In modern philosophy, there are two terms corresponding to this. One is hedonism, Hedonism. Hedonism comes from Greek. I think it's connected to the word body in ancient Greek.
Do we know that?
I don't know.
And hedonism.
I don't know ancient
Wasn't
Greek.
Epicurus accused of being a hedonist, even though it really wasn't?
Yeah.
His plays weren't literally.
Right.
He was accused of it.
Right.
Of his plays.
He was what today we would call an atheist, but he wasn't a hedonist. And then the other thing is called nihilism. That's in modern philosophy. There's a term called nihilism, Nihilism. Nihilism from the word nil, like a contract that's null and void. So everything is nil, everything is zero. Nothing matters. Nothing matters because life has no meaning. So if I'm going to die, who cares about the bchora? Who cares about spiritual legacy?
Oh, so etymology of hedonism, Greek for delight.
Delight.
Here.
Sensuous pleasures. Good. Thank you.
Hedonism.
So it's a philosophy of sensuous pleasures.
I'm telling you.
Okay,
I
good.
made you. I called you on the carpet there.
Nice. Okay. Verse 33.
An aversion to hedonism is
Asceticism.
hedonophobia. Hedonophobia.
Interesting. Thank you.
You're welcome anytime. I'm here to serve.
So am I tried, thank you. Verse 33, Vayomer Yaakov. So Jacob says, He shavali kayom. Well, swear on it. I'm going to bring the papers and the lawyers I want you to sign. All the X's. Vayishavalo. And he swore to him. Vayimkor et bchorato leYaakov. And he ceded his birthright to continue on the spiritual legacy of their father and grandfather. VeYaakov natan leEsav lechem unzid adashim. He gave him the lentils and he gave him bread. Here is something unique. Check this out. This is the only place in the Torah where you have 5 consecutive verbs.
5 consecutive verbs.
What did Esav do? In Hebrew, it's 5 words.
Show me where they are in Hebrew.
34. Vayochal, vayesht, vayakom, vayelech, vayivaz, vayivez, Esav et abchora. So what did Esav do? He ate, and he drank, and he got up, and he went, and he was contemptuous of the birthright. He's all about doing.
3,
There's no
4.
what we call today in current day spirituality, there's no mindfulness. There's no gratitude. There's no reflection. There's no appreciation.
It's like binging or something.
Yeah.
It starts with Vayoval.
Vayochal.
Yochal.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And this is very powerful, right? He ate, he drank, he got up, and he went, and he was contemptuous of the birthright.
Wow.
Is just pure doing. Pure
You don't want to
it.
be bothered with serving God.
Verse 1. Now the camera shifted. This was the end of, actually it's not the end of the first Aliyah, but the camera shifts from this scene of the brothers to another place. Verse 1. There was a famine in the land, in addition to the famine that was in the days of Abraham. And Yitzchak went to Avimelech, who was the king of Gerar, the king of the Philistines. The Philistines were originally a Greek merchant ethnic group, tribe, which settled along the coasts. Why the coasts? That's where the airports are. That's where the ports are. That's where they can go and do business. And their center was where today Gaza is, and Ashdod and Ashkelon. So Gerar was really Gaza. But Hashem Skyped with Yitzchak, he FaceTimed with Yitzchak at night when Yitzchak was sleeping. Verse 2. Vayera elav Hashem. Hashem told him, Al tired Mitzrayma. Don't take the El Al flight to Cairo. Shchon ba'aretz. Dwell in Israel, asher omar elecha. In the land that I will tell you. Verse 3. Gur ba'aretz azot. You stay in Israel. Don't go to the airport. Ve'yeh imcha. I'll be with you. I'll watch your back. Va'avacheka. I'll bless you. Ki lecha ulezarecha etain kol ha'atzot. I'll give you all this territory, and I will sustain the oath that I made to Abraham, your dad. So, verse 4. Why is this? Yitzchak is the only one of the 3 patriarchs who never went to live outside Israel. Abraham lived in Egypt. Yaakov ran away to Haran, worked for Lavan, and then came back. Yitzchak was very pure. He was on another level because he was bound up as an offering, and he had a special status. He lived in Israel all his life. Never left the country. Verse 4.
Abraham. Wait, who's
Yitzchak.
Isaac.
Oh, yeah, he's the only, he never left.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And his wife came to him. Yaakov had to go find a wife.
Correct. Yeah, very
Yeah.
good. Very good. Yeah.
Kind of like, male bride.
He was looking for a good Jewish wife, one Jace wife. 9 of 35, verse 4. Vehirbeti et zaracha kekochvei hashamayim. I will multiply your seed as the stars of the earth, and I'll give you all these lands. Verse 5 is kind of smushed because, again, Abraham revered me and fulfilled my commandments. Second portion, verse 6. Yitzchak dwelled in Gerar. Gerar is still within Israel. It's where Gaza is today. Veishalu anshe makom leishto. And they ask him, where's your wife? He says,
Who was in Gaza?
Yitzchak.
Yitzchak.
Esau?
And they ask him, verse 7, where it says at the bottom 9 of 35, she's my sister. Because he was afraid to say she's my wife, lest they will kill me because she's good looking. Just like what...
Just like with
Abraham.
Yeah.
Same thing.
That was the
I
culture.
didn't know that.
That was the culture then, you know?
So you have to lie too.
There are still places like that in the world.
That if you have a wife,
You really want to be careful, you know? There's a lot of...
so you're
Well, there's a
safer
lot
to
of
say-
violence, like in
No,
other
wait. It's
places.
safer to say that it's my sister. They don't do anything, and then if you say it's my wife,
Well, they
do
might
something?
still do something, but they won't kill him too.
Yeah. Anyway,
Because if
yeah.
it's a wife, they'll kill him and take the wife. If it's just a sister, they'll just take the sister.
Anyway, 10 out of 35, something really weird.
Well, self-preservation is what that's about.
Pikuach nefesh, right. 10 out of 35. Verse 8. Came to pass that he was hanging out in Gerar for a long time, and Avimelech was a peeping Tom. He looked, the king of Philistine looked through the window, Vayar ve'inei Yitzchak mitzacheket Rivka ishto. He saw Yitzchak and Rivka being intimate. Verse 9. Vayikra Avimelech leYitzchak. He called him, and he said, Ach, hinei ishtechai, she's your wife. Ech amarta achoti? How come you said she's my sister? Vayomer elav Yitzchak, yamati pen amotei. I was afraid that I will die on account of her. And Avimelech said, Ma zot asita lanu, kimat shachav echad am ishtecha, ve'eveta alenu asham. He almost had a real calamity here, that someone amongst us would have lain with your wife. Verse 11, Avimelech was a decent guy, and he said to his people, whoever touches this man or his wife will be executed. Verse 12, and Isaac sowed in that land, Vayimtza b'shana hi 100 she'arim. His yield from his field was 100 times more than anticipated,
Oh, yield. That's what that's about.
so to speak.
What do you mean?
So, you know,
what came
if
of
the
his crops.
expectancy in that soil in that year that he would grow 10 bananas, he grew 1,000 bananas. Okay? That's
Better
what it
than
is.
expected.
100 times more. And that's the origin of the famous ultra-Orthodox neighborhood in Jerusalem, Mea She'arim. It's from this verse, right? We're going to the next page, third Torah portion, verse 13. Vayigdal ha'ish, and the man became great. This is Yitzchak. Notice they were all self-made. Abraham made a fortune, Yitzchak made a fortune, and Yaakov made a fortune. And each one of them made their fortune independently. Vayelech haloch vegadal, became greater and greater, ki gadal me'od. Verse 14, and he had stocks, bonds, commodities, securities, real estate, everything, sheep, possessions, cattle. Vayikanu oto Philistine, and the Philistines envied him. This is the beginning of anti-Semitism.
Just by one person.
Here's the beginning of anti-Semitism. Comes a
And this
Jewish
is
person,
We're getting kicked out already.
becomes very successful, and that prompts resentment, envy. Verse 15, and all the wells that Yitzchak's father's servants dug. So Abraham had his servants, they dug wells. The Philistines, they filled them with earth. They blocked them. So,
What an idiots.
you know what it reminds me of when I was reading about this? When Israel withdrew from Gaza, and this is Gaza. Israel withdrew from Gaza, I think it was 2004. Exactly, they destroyed everything. There were beautiful homes there. Forget about the beautiful homes. They had greenhouses.
The greenhouse.
The best agricultural technology in the world. They completely vandalized it. They completely destroyed it. Understand what I mean? Rather than enjoy it, utilize it, harness it
They
to
were
build their
doing
own economy.
business to Europe. They were making
So-
so much money. They could have used
So you see here something a little similar. Another interpretation is that Avraham and Yitzchak, remember Abraham and Sarah were converting people. Et hanefesh asher asu bech, they were teaching people Torah and Judaism. So they were digging wells in a spiritual sense, not in a physical. They were finding, we say, the waters of Torah. Water is to the body what Torah is to the soul. So they were digging profound wells of Torah study and Torah life. And these people, these punks who were idolaters, they would come and seek to undermine their work. Avraham, Yitzchak, they would come and teach and help people get back on the straight and narrow path, and they would come and block it and try and destroy it.
I also heard like digging inside of oneself.
Right.
It's,
Introspection.
going
Yeah,
inside of
very good.
oneself.
Another interpretation of the Lubavitcher Rebbe is that you dig deep into the other person and you find the good things in them. Because we're all professors of we're all experts in finding the faults in others, right? And here comes the first expulsion in Jewish history. The first deportation. Vayomer Avimelech Yitzchak, lech mi'imanu. The king said to Yitzchak, get out of here. Ki atzamta mimenu me'od. You're too powerful. You're too powerful. You see? A lot of Bereshit is the rabbinic principle, maxim of Maaseh Avot Siman Lebanim. What happened to the patriarchs represents what's going to happen to their descendants hundreds and thousands of years after that.
And many times over.
Right? Exactly. This represents
But this is one
historical
person.
patterns.
This is one person.
Right.
It's not like a.
It's a family, yeah, it's true.
It's a lot
Mhm,
that
yeah.
they would be jealous of one
Right.
person.
Okay. 10 of 35. Vayhi ki alchu lo shama yamim. He was there for... Oh, I'm sorry.
That's not 10 of 35.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's
12.
12 of 35. Sorry about that.
We're good.
Okay, good. 17. Vayelech misham Yitzchak vayachan benachal gar vayeshev sham. So Yitzchak parked in the valley of Gar and he settled there, and he opened the wells which the Philistines blocked, and now he renames them in the names that his father gave them. One of them is called the Be'er Maim Chaim, the well of living water. And that's actually one of the nicknames for Torah. Torah is Maim Chaim. It's living water. Okay? There's a beautiful part in Jeremiah, one of the prophets, that is one of the haftarahs we read throughout the year, where it says, that Jeremiah says in the name of Hashem, I am Maim Chaim. I'm like good, cold, pure, living water. And what do the people do? They excavate broken pits, right? They try and find meaning, vitality in things that don't really nourish and sustain and revitalize and rejuvenate and satiate the soul.
What does it say about Chaim? Mayim Chaim?
Where does it say it?
Yeah, because...
The last two words of verse 19.
I noticed during the services, the Kohanim, after they do their prayer,
Yeah?
they go back. They're saying L'chaim. They're saying L'mayim a lot.
No, they say Tidbarchu min hashamayim. Min hashamayim. May you be blessed from heaven. Shamayim is heaven.
Oh, okay. It doesn't mean water.
Shamayim.
Oh,
The word maim is in the word shamayim.
I see.
They're saying shamayim, which is heaven. Said, may you be blessed from shamayim.
Oh, okay.
Good?
I thought they were talking about water.
Yeah. No, there are some rabbis who talk about the fact that shamayim is shamayim. But
Heaven and water.
yeah, there's a connection, spiritual connection.
But Rabbi,
Yes.
here it's very specifically says that down lower that it named it. So he named it Sitna. It's very specific. In the at least
Right.
in the it says Vayikra I can't remember, blurry. Shema
Sitna.
Sitna. So
Right,
it says
Sitna is
Vayi-
enmity.
But Vayikra means named it, right?
And
Or
he
called
named it. Yeah.
Okay. But
So another, yeah.
it didn't say that up here, did it?
Well, their different wells have different names.
No, but it didn't say specifically Vayikra, Mayim, Hayim.
That's true. Right, exactly.
Just,
You're right. Here they found a well of living water. It wasn't named. And then they had a fight in verse 20. The shepherds of Yitzchak were the shepherds of Gerar. And Yitzchak called it Oshek, which contention, because they were disputing over it. They were feuding.
Okay.
And then verse 21, good point, thank you, Judith. Sitna is enmity. And then in verse 22, he went somewhere else and he dug his own well and he called it Rechovot, which means wideness, so to speak. Ki irchiv Hashem lanu, because Hashem widened our path and we became fruitful. Verse 23, page 13 of 35. He went up from Beersheba.
Where would Beersheba be now?
Is it where it is? It's a
still
city.
The same
Yeah.
Beersheba is
Yeah.
that Beersheba?
Mhm.
Okay.
Only then they didn't have the mall. Yeah. Verse 24, Vayira elav Hashem balayla, and Hashem reassures him at night, and Yitzchak builds an altar, thanking Hashem. Verse 27, Avimelech comes back. He tries to pacify Yitzchak. Yitzchak tells him, Madua batem elai, why did you come here? Vatem snatem oti. I know you hate me and you expelled me. It says, Ra'o ra'inu k'haya Hashem imach. We see that Hashem is with you. V'tomer tihena ala binotenu v'nichata vrit imach. Let's make a deal. Let's sign a peace treaty. Let's establish a covenant between us.
So he comes after him.
Mm-hmm. He realizes it's bad for business to
Like Spain,
have bad relations with a billionaire.
like Spain realizes now that they shouldn't have.
Yeah,
Us out.
Yeah, they want us
right.
back.
It's okay. You don't need them.
So then we're going to skip. They're going to have a meal together, and Beersheba was named. Let's go to verse 34 at the bottom.
Wait a minute, you're missing the part. Oh, yeah, okay, we're going to go to 34, the important part here.
Mm-hmm. And Esav was 40, and he took as a wife Yehudit bat Be'eri Hachiti. He took a Hittite wife. And Basmat bat Elon Hachiti. Took two Hittite wives. And the verse 35 says that Yitzchak and Rivka were very upset. They didn't think it was a good move. So there were vast moral and religious differences between the Hittites.
He was compared to a swine.
Yeah, I wanted to see. This is actually a very interesting idiom that's good to know. So Rashi says, back on verse 34, in the Rashi where it says 40 years old, that Esav was like a pig. Why was it like a pig? In order for an animal to be kosher, two categories have to be met. One, the animal must have split hooves on its feet. The other is that it chews on its cud and doesn't just devour whatever it preys upon. So the swine fulfills one of the categories. The swine has split hooves, but doesn't chew on its cud. So the swine...
No wonder I'm constantly confused about the split hoof. Okay.
So it's like the pig is lounging with both his feet like that. Look at me, I'm kosher. Mm-hmm. That's what Esav did. He asked his father all kinds of sophisticated Torah questions, but really he wasn't kosher. That's what Rashi is saying here. And this became idiomatic, of somebody who pretends to be a good person when they're not.
That's why they like ham and pork so much. Because the Christians come from Esav.
I don't know. Well, anyway, chapter 27, verse 1. Vayhi ki zakan Yitzchak v'tichaena enav mirot. So Yitzchak started going dim in his eyes, and he called Esav, his older son, and he told him, Bni, my son. He says, Hineni, at your service, Dad. Vayomer, Hinena zakanti lo yadati yomoti. I'm an old man now. I don't know where I'm going to die. It's verse 2. Somebody who is of a very advanced age, in his 90s, came to me one day and said, this is what I would like, this is what I would like you to do when I have my funeral and so forth. And I'm telling this person, why are you talking about it now? That person says to me, it can happen every day. It can happen today. So, people reach a certain stage of life. So he says, Hinena zakanti lo yadati yomoti. I'm an old man. I don't know when my day will come. Could be today, could be tomorrow, could be 5 years from now, could be 10 years from now. Verse 3. So go take your sword and your bow and all your hunting gear and go find something for me. So Rashi has a question, what does that mean? We know that the patriarchs intuited the Torah and they kept kosher. So you can't eat a hunted animal. If you keep kosher and you only eat, let's say, kosher beef, so, it can't be an animal that was shot, for example. It has to be an animal that was slaughtered in the Jewish way. So Rashi says that he told them...
But this is pre-kashrut.
Right. But there's a...
Abraham was serving dairy and meat.
Yeah, but he saved dairy first. So there are two perspectives. One, it's before the giving of the Torah, exactly what you're saying. Another perspective is that the patriarchs and the matriarchs intuited the Torah and they fulfilled many of the mitzvot ahead of time, so to speak.
Hashem was teaching them?
Right. So, next page. 16 of 35. Va'aseli matamim. I want some delicacies. Go get me some baklava. Kasher ahavti, that I like. Va'aviali, and bring it to me. Ve'ochela ba'avu tevacha nafshi b'temu, so I can bless you before I die. And here comes the mother's intuition. Verse 5.
Why didn't he ask for his other son too?
Well, that's what it says.
He was
Esav
a
is the older.
Yeah, he was-
Esav
Well,
is
the eldest gets the blessing, so what does he need
He
the other one
was
for?
the eldest.
And he was the favorite.
That was his favorite.
Notice that the Torah, especially in Bereshit, not only in Exodus 2 and many places, is a constant critique of power
Between persons.
and of might over right. Because in the ancient world, in the days of Abraham, kings were demigods. They built those huge skyscrapers like the Tower of Babel. It was like the medieval kings of Europe who thought that, they had a divine right to... And everybody else was a slave, was a nobody. It's like North Korea today or something like that. And the Torah rejects that and says, no, everybody is in God's image. And then the norm was that the oldest kid always inherits more and gets... And what the Torah shows us is that it's a meritocracy. Whoever merits it. Yitzchak merited to continue the path, not Ishmael, right?
All of them.
Yaakov and not Esav. Yosef and not Reuven. So the Torah is saying that it's a meritocracy. And the ancient world was the opposite of meritocracy. It was just hereditary. Right?
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Adam's sons, the first one killed the second one, right?
Right, yeah. Okay. So verse 5, and Rivka heard it, and she told Yitzchak, and verse 7, go bring good food, and make delicacies, and so you can be blessed. She says to him on verse 8, go do what I tell you. Go to the flock, get these 2 good kids, meaning baby goats, and I will make delicacies for your father just the way he likes it, with Tabasco and barbecue sauce. Verse 10.
Bernaise sauce.
Now notice that Yaakov has misgivings. Verse 11. And Yaakov said to his mother, Hen Esav achi ish sa'ir v'anochi ish chalak. He's a hairy guy and I'm the opposite of that. Maybe my father is going to feel me out, so to speak, and he'll see what I'm doing and he'll curse me. Yaakov is trying to get out of it. He doesn't jump at the opportunity. His mother insisted. He's kind of torn between honoring his mother's command and verse 13. Vatomer lo imo alai kilaltcha. If he curses me, I take it upon myself and I do what I said. Verse 14, he goes, he brings the food, and Rivka takes it and she dresses him up like a hairy guy. Verse 16, the next page, she dresses him up, and in verse 18, it says, Vayavoy laviv, vayomer aviv, vayomer hineni, mi atabni. He came to his father and said, my father, and he said, who are you, my son? Now notice the rabbi says something really interesting, that Yaakov tried very hard not to tell a lie. So look at verse 19. How does Yaakov respond to his father? Who is this? He says, Anochi, it's me. Esav bechorcha. It's me. Esav is your oldest. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
What's going on
So
here?
this is not a good translation. Because it
It's
says...
like, no, but it could be read, I am. Who is it? I am. It should be me.
Oh, it's me.
Me, full stop. Esav is your firstborn.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what's going on here?
But that's not the way we read it.
Anochi.
I am Esav.
Yeah, but in Hebrew it's different. When you say
There's no
Anochi,
periods,
It's not good.
There's no period.
it means it's
you
me.
can read it another way too.
Right. Anochi means it's me.
Anochi means it's me.
And Esav
Or
is your
here I
firstborn.
am. Yeah. I did as you said. Maybe he was gesturing towards his mother and said, I did as you said to his mother. Kum
This
nash.
is very tricky here, Rabbi. I'm not buying it.
Yeah, I'm not sure I do either. Kum nashva ve'ochla mitzedi ba'avo tevarcheni nafshecha. Come here and sit and eat next to
This is a
me,
little bubba-miser here.
so that my soul will bless you. And Yitzhak said, "Whoa, you got it all so fast. Let me fill you out." And very famously, on verse 22, Yitzhak says, "The voice is the voice of Jacob, and the hands are the hands of Esav." And then he eats and he drinks, and he blesses him.
Isn't this the part where Isaac is getting so old he can't see?
Yeah.
He doesn't know.
Yeah, we
Exactly,
just
yeah.
said that, yeah. In that-
And later on, Esav comes and gets a lesser blessing and cries, a bitter cry. And at the end of the parsha,
So when it says the voice is the voice of Jacob, he realizes
he says he's perplexed. He doesn't realize what's going on, but something's up. He doesn't know what's up, but he's thrown off. But at the end of the parsha, really, Yaakov runs for his life.
Yeah.
And Esav married his cousin's Ishmael's daughters, and he plans that he's going to kill Yaakov after their father dies. Now, one important thing to understand is we can also understand the story of getting the brachot is a story of what happens at the end, right? A person who lives in the Esav way at some point it's going to catch up with that person in life. And they're going to feel that really they have nothing and they did nothing. Because all their life was just about the physical. And then they cry bitterly, they suffer. And a person who walks the Yaakov way sees a lot of blessing from the mitzvot that he or she does.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Why did he want to kill his brother after his father died? Why?
Because
Why did he want to kill
Because
his
he
brother?
stole his birthright and his inheritance. His blessing, and the blessing too.
Well,
And
the
it says
inheritance he forfeited fair and square.
here- Okay, but it says here, he took the blessing. I guess, at that time, the blessing was important.
So let me proceed and say something that we're going to see next week.
Oh,
Next week,
spoiler alert.
yeah,
Coming attraction.
coming soon in a shul near
We
you.
won't be here next week, because it's Thanksgiving.
All right, so no class. So I can certainly
Oh,
say,
so we have to have the
yeah.
sneak.
So when Yaakov wants to marry Rachel,
Next week is Thanksgiving?
Next
Yeah.
Thursday.
Golly, it's early.
Yaakov wants to marry Rachel, and Lavan pulls a fast one and marries him with Leah.
Oh, yeah, that's...
And in the morning, Yaakov is really
it's kind of
upset.
like he got his payback.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and he says to Lavan, "What did you do to me?" He says, "In our quarters, we don't marry the younger one before the older one. We don't do things this way here."
Meaning what you did
there.
second one.
So, and what happened to Yaakov? It's karma. He got cheated in business all the time. There. So, basically, he got a taste of his own medicine. We have a rabbinic principle called midah keneged midah. Midah, M-I-D-E, is measurement. Measurement for measurement. Tit for tat. What goes around comes around. So we see in next week's parsha how, Yaakov really got a taste of his own medicine too. So that's also connected. Good?